Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Full Force News Burst live with me, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic AT, brought to you by General Joe's REBORN.com. Yes, welcome back. If you've already been hanging out with myself and Brian earlier today, it's been a long day, hasn't it? Very long day. Should we do the obvious? I've got well, not the obvious, but if you saw the first episode today, then you would have known that I had surgery this morning. Yes, I'm showing you again. It's happening. If you didn't see it, or if you didn't see the earlier episode, I'm showing it now. It's happening. So, word of warning: this is a little bit graphic for those that have a weak disposition. I had was that like a benign lump removed from my shoulder, which has been there for a number of years now. But that happened this morning, and this is the scar that's been. Look at that. Look at that. There's like a shiny aspect to it, but don't worry, that's just like a glue that has hardened. So it's that was removed this morning, which was fun. Actually, a really interesting experience, like watching it, because I was actually able to kind of just look to the side and watch it happening. It was odd that, obviously, like, numbed and all that kind of stuff, but watching that being taken out was quite interesting. Anyway, that's life out of the way. Lots of news today. And yeah, of course, I went live earlier with Brian Hickey of Total Toy Books fame to discuss the Deluxe Treasury Edition. So if you haven't seen that, you can go check that out later or whatever. But yeah, really awesome to see Brian again and to go over some more details regarding the those Deluxe Treasury Editions of Battle Action Force. Anyway, yes, Yobbo removed McMurphy, indeed. I hope everyone in the chat is doing well and having a good Monday so far. I know it's still late in the day, but if I can get on live before 7 p.m, it usually is a winner for me. And I can't understand how that's happened. What I've had to do today, or like loads of stuff today, not just the surgery that happened this morning. Wasn't very long. I was probably in there for an hour all told, so it wasn't a major deal. And also no pain yet. It's been most of the day. I'm surprised. I thought there'd be some pain. Not yet. I probably jinxed it massively. But then obviously loads of news has been kicking off. I woke up. Well, I didn't wake up. I did actually. I woke up at 3 something this morning, and just so happened to see that the Crimson Guard had been revealed by HIYA Toys. So we'll be talking about that today. A little bit later on in the day, SUPER7 posted the official announcement reveal of Target exclusive Lady Jaye in Deek Deco. So that is now official. We'll breeze past that because we've already talked about it really in general, but it's worth mentioning and discussing. There's more. There's a lot more. We've had leaks galore again, which isn't a character from a James Bond movie, but the first one, gross leaks. The first, or just be like leeks, the vegetable. The first leak we'll be discussing will be regarding possible Haslab spoilers. Possible. We believe, well, we've been told, and it seems to be kind of common knowledge now, that those kind of images that have been circulating, including the ones that are new, I think from yesterday, that we didn't see until today on Reddit, are from a focus group. And that seems to be the consensus in general from a while back. So it's something it's worth talking about, I guess, in terms of what they were kind of showing to other people for that that kind of like getting the plan ready for what will be very likely a Rattler in next week. Now, next week, in a couple of days, McLeod, it's Monday. Everything kicks off on Thursday. There'll probably be loads of news in and around it beforehand. I mean, there is today. This is effectively a prequely, if you will, because there's so much to talk about. And then on top of that, we have some, very likely looking classified retro Viper sort of secondaries that have snuck out on Weibo. I think it's Weibo. I've never been able to pronounce that correctly, and my apologies for getting it wrong. I should just learn, shouldn't I? In any case, let's get stuck in, because I mean, we'll be here for months, won't we? And I know nobody wants that. So There's the graphic for you, the first one. Yes, HIYA Toys Crimson Guard, Super7 Lady Jaye, and leaks galore. There's actually another little bit of tidbit of news, which I might discuss at the end as well, that's kind of crept out. Two things, actually. One is that Brandon Jerwa is doing a new kind of like G.I. Joe inspired comic called Disavowed, which I find very funny, by the way, based on the fact that Brandon's work with G.I. Joe back in the day was supposed to be the carry on from the Marvel series, and then was disavowed after the fact, and then the kind of Marvel IDW kind of took over, and Larry did the A Real American Hero follow on. Being involved in that. So Brandon Joe is doing a comic called Disavowed, which is kind of fun. That's one bit of information that's kind of crept out before I could kind of like change anything. I just wanted to mention. And the other one is actually related to Mattel. Yes. So it looks like they've been approached by we'll talk about it later, but they've been approached with an acquisition offer. And the kind of the conversation now is around, will that possibly ignite Hasbro to do another one? Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, Ryan says, why am I advertising for HIYA, which is obviously a scam? We'll get into that. I mean, I'm going to talk about it. I'm not advertising it, am I? I'm going to get into it and talk about it because it's news related to G.I. Joe. And then, of course, we'll talk about that aspect of it, because it's definitely worth discussing, is it not? Did all my machines survive the CloudStrike crash? Pretty much, yes. The first time some global kind of tech issue was kicked off, and it hasn't affected us. We just have our own tech issues all the time anyway. Anyway, hope everyone's doing well in the chat. There's a lot of you. Sorry I haven't got to all the comments. We'll get there. Now, first and foremost, let's get into that weird advertising that I'm doing, Ryan. HIYA Toys revealed their exquisite mini 4-inch Crimson Guard, which looks really cool and looks awesome. Obviously it's the 4-inch scale. It is modeled somewhat after the classified series Crimson Guard, with a minor change in the knee pads being black, which is quite a nice touch, actually, as I look at the other Crimson Guards with non-black knee pads. Also, the fact they've kind of thrown in a little knife sheath on the chest, which I have to say would be cool if it didn't look so big, because obviously they have a bit of an issue sometimes with the weapons and the accessories being a little large, don't they? But I will say it casts a very nice kind of silhouette. It looks like a cool figure. I like it, right? It's nice. That aside, what is going on? Because I do feel like we've had 2 figures out of 22 now, I believe. And I did a graphic earlier that I sent to the group, but I haven't done a proper graphic. I just kind of bundled them all together so I could kind of have a place to kind of go, yes, that these are they. So far, Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, Cobra Commander, Beachhead, Flint, a Lady Jaye, Major Blood, Baroness, Tiger Force Flint, Gung Ho, Cobra Infantry or Trooper, Zartan, Spirit and Freedom, Dusty, Stalker, Crocmaster and Fiona, Zaymot and Tomax but separate, the Crimson Guard, Destro, Firefly. That count is, hang on, 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21. Is that right? Let's count that again. 6, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21 figures have been revealed with the Crimson Guard. I have put questions out to HIYA. I did get one back, but it was kind of like not an automated response by email, but it was an email that stated to kind of keep an eye on distribution in other areas. I think it was Diamond. I think they kind of pointed me towards for distribution elsewhere. I'm not sure what came of that, but I know it's obviously other places have them. Small Joes have got pre-orders on them. But yeah, Yeah, I mean, he looks again. Don't get me wrong. I think the figures look great. Somewhat sketchy sometimes with the head sculpts. Like I think some of the head sculpts are phenomenal, and some of them just don't really work for me. The ones that don't really work for me, I will say, are Flint, which is a shame because I love Flint. I don't think his head sculpt works for me, but the rest of them where they've got like interesting kind of looks and vibes, you know, like Major Blood looks good, Gung Ho looks good, Baroness actually looks pretty cool, Zartan looks good. Spirit looks good. Dusty looks okay. Stalker is an odd one. Tomax and Zaymot look steady, but the shoulder bits with the shoulder things that like kind of fleshy flaps, they look a bit weird. And then obviously the rest of them are kind of either masked or chromed. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. I do think the figures look really good though, other than some of the head sculpts. And this Crimson Guard is, you know, again, another pretty sexy figure. The thing I will say as well, though, is it's funny with, I know they're kind of doing almost like a small classified version kind of collection, which makes sense because classified is really popular, which we'll be talking about later as well. Yes, I said fleshy flaps, terry folds, if you will. Oh God, I love that song. That's my Spotify playlist. One of them. Yes. So they look good. Yeah. But the problem is this issue with like 22 releases, 2 out. That's got to be an issue. There's something's not right here, and it's not making sense. But for the most part, there are some of these figures I'm really kind of interested in. Some of that stand out to me are the ones that we, you know, don't necessarily have in classified or don't have in that style in classified. Like they not exactly the same is what I'm saying. So Tiger Force Flint is one that stands out to me because that's really interesting because it's different. Storm Shadow is another one that I really like the look of because of the website design version, the Operation Blackout, some people call it, but it's effectively the early kind of design for Storm Shadow with the tattoo. You know, Major Blood looks phenomenal, but he's more or less the same. The Trooper is very different as well, and that's something that I'd like to kind of like, you know, check out. And that Baroness with the purple hair, I like that vibe as well. So there's a lot of kind of things to enjoy with what they're doing in the line, but I kind of want to see the figures in hand now. You know what I mean? Kind of want to see them. I really want to see those figures. That is a reference that some of you will have no clue. A lot of you won't know what I'm talking about, so I won't even bother saying it again. The Cobra Trooper is really cool looking Inu to be, yeah, because of that kind of, they've gone a completely different way with that design-wise. Let's see what you're saying in the comments because I don't want to miss anything. Oh, sorry, Josh Blaylock, not Brandon Joe. My fault, guys. Sorry, when I said earlier, sorry, I had Brandon Joe on the mind. My apologies. Josh Blaylock was the creator that's making the Disavowed. Thank you, Mark, and sorry for getting that wrong at the beginning. Josh Blaylock, not Brandon Joe. My fault. That was me having Brandon Joe on the mind. Sorry, Brandon. Leaks Galore is the new classified figure. She is a scuba diver. True story. Felix, that would be amazing. Love the mask on it, says Detective Dirty. Yes, it's a great head sculpt. The classified head sculpt as well is really solid. And the Retaliation Crimson Guard, was it Retaliation? Or was it Black Shadow Guard, wasn't it? No, I think it was, yeah, Retaliation had the Crimson Guard. That one's really cool as well. But I think the classified one is proper spot on. So I think if they're just effectively using that, which I believe they are, it still looks really cool. I think they've done really well with it. Don't like the knife placement, says Viper Scout. I have to agree a little bit on that. It's a cool idea, but it's too big, too bulky, too sticky outy, ruins the silhouette a little bit. Get that smaller, flip it upside down possibly. I mean, they're not really the kind of tactical troops, are they? They're like the more impractical ceremonial kind of people, or well, you know what I mean. They're not necessarily going out for battle in that gear. But anyway, good evening, Michael Jean Fleming. Wilfredo Diaz says, yeah, the black knee pads and new mask looks cool, but it's so damn small. Is it a new mask? I guess it is. Oh, hang on. I think it just might be the lighting, but it does have black instead of the silver on the that mouthpiece, which is what I think is throwing me and a lot of people in that sense. But it's effectively the same. It hasn't changed a great deal. Let's put on that. That's a nice shot. I'm glad it comes with the sword as well. The sword's pretty dope. They've got to be coming out eventually, says Detective Dirt. You'd think so. These are a little bigger. Yeah, they're bigger than 3 3/4, and they're actually bigger than 4-inch, Bryce. They're ever so slightly bigger than 4-inch scale figures. So if you were to get your Retaliation Crimson Guard next to this one, there would be a significant difference, enough for you to notice the two different heights. Not like a head difference, but like a significant amount of mil that it kind of stands out. The Snake Eyes, I noticed, was like a lot bigger and taller than the other 4-inch Snake Eyes figures when they did comparisons of them when they were released. Two of the only figures, Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, that have really seen a release so far. I love my Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. They're so much better in hand. I totally no, I'm with you on that. I think they look great. A lot of people say good things about them. It's just weird that they're the only ones that have made it out. HollowNet loves the look of the Crimson Guard here. It looks fantastic, he said. WJ, oh, right, 4-inch, yeah. HIYA was a conscious free pass for me, but some of them, especially this one, are turning me around, says Leon. Detective Date says they look ready. They I mean, yeah, just put that one out. W says, I like my mixed collection of vintage and modern figures. Everyone is not the same height in real life, and now I got short people thanks to page punches. Yeah, very small action figures, those. Cobra Trooper is cool looking, yep. They are the best 4-inch Joe figures that have yet to be released, says RKW. Ooh, you might have some arguments there with the kind of modern 4-inch Pursuit of Cobra, Retaliation, 50th kind of crew, but they do look really good, and you know they are pretty cool. Felix says, didn't HIYA just ship out a 112 Rambo? They might have done. I did notice that they shipped out. Oh, sorry, they revealed a 112 scale Contra 2-pack for SDCC, which is pretty cool. Although I really do love my NECA 2-pack Contra figures. Yeah, that was a cool 2-pack. Kitty said. Cheers. Kitty didn't say that. I don't know if it was 112 or if it was 118. I can't remember. Or maybe they might have done both for Rambo. For Rumbo. Someone's sending me messages. What's this? Oh, okay. Yeah, I have seen that, Jason Smith. Thank you for sending me that message. If you're in the chat, yes, it's the Skybound Choose Your Cobra or Joe kind of thing, isn't it? Rambo is good, solid. I have the First Blood version, says Enu to be. That Trooper is awesome. I'd love a heavy armored Trooper in Classified. Yeah, same. Finally, Blaylock getting some love. I love the DDP run of comics. Suka Prime, it was that was such a fun period for me. I had such a great time when the comics came back out and kind of reignited that aspect for Joe fans again. Like, it really got me back into it. And I remember I was working on summer camp at the time in New Jersey, doing Camp America, which is like a thing that you do as like a gap year or something if you were between like college and university. And I remember doing that for like 5 years, basically 5 summers. And I went to shout out Camp Loema. I don't think it's there anymore, which is a shame. They shut the doors like a couple of years back. It's quite sad. But anyway, that particular camp when I was on, we had a day off, and I went with a friend, Rosie. Shout out to Rosie. He took me to Zap Comics in New Jersey, near where he lived, or where his mum and dad lived at the time. And we drove to this Zap Comics place because he knew I was a nerd. And we had a look in there, and they had like G.I. Joe figures and all sorts of kind of, cool stuff in like cabinets that I hadn't seen for a while, like, out in the open in shops and stuff like that. But they were all kind of like vintage figures, loose, kind of geared up and kind of put on the stands and put on display sort of thing. And they had a rack of comics right in as you go in the front door, and the rack of comics was right at the end, and it was like an end cap sort of display with all of the G.I. Joe comic back issues for the new, like, you know, run of DDP Image. And it was like, I think like 1 to 10, I think, just like so I just went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that, and I was just like, I am back. And I remember just having the most amazing experience, just literally soaking that new story up, being like completely blown away that there was a new comic out, and I had no clue, because we were on camp and we were like, you know, no phones, no internet, nothing like that. It was like proper back to basics while we were there. And yeah, it was, I remember having to get, like, you had to get a phone card, and there was a pay phone on camp that, you know, one pay phone, and you'd have to buy phone cards, and like calling anybody was such a pain in the butt. And I'd like call mum and dad or something, like, you know, once a week or something, and just be like, hey, I'm still alive. And and it would be like, you'd have to type in like 300 numbers. I've gone on such a tangent. I'm sorry. HIYA Toys Crimson Guard. Anyway, yes, DDP run was amazing. I have good, fond memories of it. Do I see an iceberg and or frostbite hat on that classified? Oh, sorry. We'll get to that, Stephen. We'll get to that. Sorry, it completely confused the crap out of me there. But you mean on the leaked figure on that first graphic? Yeah, we'll get to that at the end in a little while. Both Crimson Vest guards. The face on mask looks different, I thought. Yeah, it does look ever so different, but I think it's because they've painted that grill on the front. Its color scheme is like the sideshow version. It is actually, Leon, yes. Talking Joe says, do you like the gloves on these, or do you really want to see those fingers? There we go. There we go. Someone got that reference. Thank you, mate. I knew you'd get it. So happy to see Blaylock getting some love. The DDP run of... Yeah, absolutely, Suka. I so badly want a good 1/6 Crimson Guard. Why can't I work out that scale? "12" God, that took me a while, didn't it? What? We've got one, haven't we? Didn't we get one with Sideshow? Or have I gone mad? Or is that not one that you think is good? Let me know. I thought we did get one with Sideshow. But you want a good one. So that might be what you're saying there, RKW. Apologies if that's what you're getting at. Hello, White. Hello, Renegade Biker. There's some pretty fake-looking Rattler leaks on some Facebook groups. Potato quality images. We'll be talking about that, Charles, in a short while. Mark says, have HIYA got 20-ish figures worth of prepaid pre-orders? Does that mean they've been hanging on to a bunch of cash? Who knows? Who knows? Leon did Camp America in Pennsylvania. Nice. That Crimson... mine was in New Jersey. Sounds terrible, but it was amazing. It was in like the Sussex County, and like the kind of like right on a mountain. Like, it was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Lakes and stunning place. Loved it. Joe says that Crimson Guard looks so good. Felipe says, I like SUPER7 reaction, but lately we just got repaints, need more new sculpts. We'll be getting to that in a second as well. And RKW confirms Sideshow was crap. I really like the Sideshow figures, but I understand. When you get like a Hot Toys figure in hand as well, it's like, oh, there's another level here, isn't there? Which are, I think, the same company actually, but you know what I'm saying. Right. Okay. There's Disavowed cover that I haven't been able to put on the episode from Josh Blaylock. There you go. Can you see the homage that it's making? I think you can. And it's called Disavowed, which again is kind of a fun little nod, and a kind of like, you know, have that sort of at the official license holder. Anyway. Yeah, so there's the Crimson Guard. It looks as though we're in the same kind of boat in terms of release date. The 32nd of February, right? Yeah, that seems to be the date for most of the HIYA Toys releases so far. If anyone can find the 32nd of February, that would be great. But they're claiming Q1 of 2025, which is the same as about 17 other figures they've revealed. The price will be $24.99 US if you ever get it. But you know, I'm hoping for some sort of ridiculous, like in 12 in hand in one go, like 12 get shipped out in one go, and it's they've just been building it up, and you get 12 figures at once. But I don't know. Who knows? Everything is confusing, and I just want to go to sleep anyway. But that, and there's a Crimson Guard, and just to show you the full, accoutrement, the backpack that you get there, you get spare hands, the dagger, pistol, the rifle, kind of like a more updated version of what the Crimson Guard utilizes, and also is slightly different to the one the classified one comes with, right? Because I don't recall there being the little handle on the barrel there. I might be wrong. No, I'm not. So it is slightly different to the classified Crimson Guard version. And of course, you get the amazing ceremonial sword and sheath, and of course, the same diorama piece stand that so far only 2 figures have come with. If you know what I'm talking about, 4.1 inches, 10.5 centimeters, depending on what system you use. Whereas it feels like we use every system. Right. Next. And we have SUPER7 quickly to have a chat about. Now, just these are more confirmations than anything else. We've already discussed Lady Jaye and SUPER7 and Reaction. This is a Target exclusive, and this has been showing up with the last wave of figures. So yeah, she's been kind of a Target exclusive now for a couple of weeks. A few people picked them up. We got an image sent to us by Ritz Murphy. Shout out to Ritz, thank you very much. When he was out shopping in Target last week, and this is the official kind of like official reveal by SUPER7. Now you can get them on, it basically says on target.com, so the link is in the description for that particular Lady Jaye Reaction figure, but you'll probably be able to find this one in stores if you look hard enough. Yeah, and it's a Deke Deco. More beautiful artwork from Jason Edmiston, who I think does an amazing job actually kind of making these very like vintage-esque kind of pieces that just like evoke that style that seems to kind of get missed sometimes when this is what like I have. Obviously this is different than, you know, Hector Garrido. It's different to Doug Hart. It's different to Earl Norham, but it evokes a similar vibe because of the techniques in which Jason utilizes in order to create these pieces. Like there's aspects to this artwork that I think come across a little bit more vintage than a lot of kind of the most recent attempts with a lot of like, you know, kind of like retro card backs, or you know, where we see even Hasbro doing O-ring in their like Sky Strikers and stuff like that. It was, in my opinion, I felt like Ripcord was the only one that evoked that like real sense of vintage style, mainly because Adam Riches did that one and he effectively painted it. So it's a painterly style, and it comes across that way, that Night Force Ripcord. So there's been like quite a lot of that sort of attempt to be made, and you know, like it's good art that we've seen, but it doesn't catch the vintage vibe like in the same way that, like as you said, Jason Edmiston stuff seems to do it. He seems to be able to like just, you know, again, it's his style. It's still very kind of new, and at the same time has a really good vintage vibe. So I think, yeah, he does a great job. And I'm going to shout him out every time because I think he does phenomenal artwork. So shout out to Jason Edmiston. Again, a real highlight of the Reaction series has been his artwork on the cards. And this is another beauty. I love it. Really cool. And here's the figure as well. And again, it's in the Deke Deco. They call out Deke in the blurb as well. So it's specifically Deke. And now we have the Baroness in blue. We have Scarlet in her purple and kind of like, I don't even know what yellow shade that is, but it is a distinctively weird yellow, isn't it, in the Deke cartoon? And this kind of like tealy green color on Lady Jaye. So even though we didn't get them in the Ultimates, we do have them now in Reaction. That is everything for SUPER7 and Reaction. What have they released so far? Only Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, and Destro? No, it's just Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, technically. The others haven't made it out yet for HIYA Toys, you're saying, W, yeah. Right. Next. Sorry, I just had to think what that was. Yes, we are talking Haslab. Now, more images have emerged on Reddit from what is apparently, or I forget the word, allegedly, a focus group images that were used in a focus group, if that makes sense. So Hasbro did a focus group apparently, and in said focus group, these images were used to kind of gauge the ideas with a group of fans and others to see what they thought about certain things. So as you can see, this isn't necessarily what we're looking at right now. Is not necessarily anything to do with what we're actually going to see next week. Changes, ideas, all sorts of things could change, and obviously there's nothing really on here that suggests anything other than what you might find in the lineup, and that would have been speculative anyway. So if you get what I'm saying, this is not fake, but it is not something necessarily that we're seeing next week, if that makes sense. Does that make sense? Think about the process. It is a board thrown together with some ideas, including a few possible different style designs to gauge an idea from a focus group. Does that make sense? So, like I said, this isn't necessarily something we're going to be seeing image for image. And I had a feeling that might be the case when we saw the first images that came through, and everything was a little bit like, stock image, or what have we got on hand, or what makes sense to kind of use here, or that kind of thing, right? And it does look very much like a group of images that you show a focus group to gauge interest in certain aspects of a project, or to decide on a project entirely. Now I've done a close-up. There you go. I zoomed in on a couple of sections. As you can see, this little section is about the aesthetics, and it's classified series, it's Cobra Rattler. There you go. Now, 3 different versions, C, M, and F, are on screen at the moment. There could have been more. There might have been. But we don't have those on screen from the images. And as you can see, there are 3 ever so slightly different versions of the plane being shown here, all of which seem to have cockpit, gunner station, swing wing VTOL scenario. It looks as though C kind of has a very kind of vintage retro sort of vibe, like very close to the original. M seems to have a more elongated nose, a kind of thinner look than the original, but it's still quite close. Some aspects very similar to C. And F looks like a completely different upgraded, completely different vehicle. The wings almost look like they're going a different direction. Do you know what I'm saying? Like they almost look, because the other 2 have kind of flexed, very clearly bent out that way. These look like they're kind of ever so slightly inverted. Then probably not, but it could just be dead straight, and it's just the way that it's they're kind of like the angle is that they're looking at there. But there's elements on the end of the wings. There's a lot more weapons and gun systems, kind of like all over the place, kind of like a double-barreled gun underneath. There's a lot going on with F. And it does look a lot kind of thinner, sharper, weird, and interesting. My personal, out of these 3, if I was given that choice, I probably would have gone with C here, because I quite like that vintage vibe on this one. And it still does look like there's aspects that have been updated or upgraded. So I don't know, quite interesting. Again, this is not likely what we're probably not going to see anything like this. That's the other thing. It might be completely different. It might be none of these. It might be whatever. But just to make it very clear, what we're looking at here is some sort of, like a focus group sort of slideshow, basically. So yeah, in terms of leaking. We're not seeing kind of official images. Is all I'm saying. We're going to be seeing different things when it comes to next week. The pointier noses of M&F don't look good. Also, the guns underneath are too elaborate. Yeah, I have to agree with that one. The Gentleman Wake. I think I like the kind of stubbier, like an A10, like a Rattler. Well, two different things actually, but you know what I mean. Like the Rattler, I like that. I wonder what picks are under that lower left section that has pick over it. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, I believe there are people in the community that get in these focus groups. I do. Well, people have reached out before to say I was in a focus group, but I can't say anything, which is always a bit of a pain. But like I remember we talked about a focus group once a while back, and then someone messaged me to say I was in that focus group. I can't say anything, but that there were loads of cool things to choose from and stuff like that to talk about. So yeah, we definitely know of the focus groups and people that have been in them. That trident tail has to go. I mean, it is a Rattler at the end of the day. More compact, the better. How am I liking the size? What, you mean friggin' massive? If that's the figure next to it, then yeah, Hossin massive is what it is. But yeah, I'm down for huge. So Leon, right, you're still going to go through the process, right? So why do they need these is the question. The hiss was very close to the original scaled up. It wasn't though. The hiss, if you look at the hiss and an actual other hiss, there are significant differences. Yeah, it's not necessarily just we'll just scale it up. That effectively they were going to do the same thing with this and then add and subtract and tickle and tweak, but they do have to do the process because there could be something in there could be magic in there, and that's part of the design process. And I think a lot of designers would tell you, a lot of it is taking something that exists, chipping away at it to see what else can come, you can get out of it. Some people wipe the slate clean, start from fresh. Some people like to kind of like mix it up a little bit and go, I like this aspect, I like this aspect, I like this aspect, but I want this changed, and this changed. And they come at it with a more kind of engineering mindset and then, build it like a Lego set. So I think there has to be a process that you go through with this one. It's not confirmed necessarily, Jedi Ben, but this is what it looks like, and this is what people are suggesting who posted the images in the first place. That's what they're saying. So it's not that it's confirmed, it's that is what is being that is what's being said. And honestly, what it looks like is exactly what it's being said. The overall length needs to be short. M in particular is very elongated. Yes, M and F actually look really long and spiky and kind of stuff. And I do like C. I think C is my favorite. Anyway, not that it matters. I'm still going to get it, of course I am. Wow, what did I miss? Well, not much, Brian. This is... I'm not saying it again. Possible focus group images, but not final images, okay? That's the easy part of it. The original did have bad landing gear, yes. Anyway, the other image we have kind of talks about features. And again, these aren't what we're going to see image-wise, right? They are features that they're putting out there to gauge the reaction of said focus group, I guess. So pivoting wings for vertical takeoff and landing. You'd expect that, wouldn't you? Dynamic blast effects, light up effects. Again, that's an image that we saw the other day when the first when it leaked a couple last week, or these images leaked last week. But again, as I mentioned at the time, probably not official images. Very much an image that is probably utilized from elsewhere to highlight and visually explain what the feature would be and look like, but not obviously what we're going to see because of it wouldn't look like that. Light up cockpit and pilot controls, and they've done like a generic control panel there, which actually might be, is that the Hiss tank one or the Dragonfly one? It could be one of the, it could be one they've already have and they've just used it. I can't remember which one it is, but it does look like one of those. Display for dramatic looks, and again, that display is not, what is that from? Anyway, that's probably again not going to be, again, that's just for visual aid. It's a visual aid is what it is. And armaments, bombs and missiles. Yeah, cool. That's pretty much it. Now, like I said, I don't think we're going to be seeing some of this in a different capacity is what I'm expecting next week. The Rattler has been sort of, you know, what's the word? Kind of like hinted at. It's been, you know, knowingly played up in multiple different ways as to that's what it's going to be. It's been the talk of the town since SDCC last year, basically, based on comments by Lenny, by John Warden, by the team in general, interviews on the floor, interviews that made it to a video, chats that just happened by people on the floor with the team. So it's one of those things where it's almost been like the worst kept secret. Again, there's always one, isn't there? In the G.I. Joe Classifieds case, there's about 20 worst kept secrets, but you know, that's how it is. Now with that, I would say that next week, I've gone ahead of myself there. Next week, we're probably going to see a Rattler. Will we see any of these images? No, almost certainly not. Is this something else related to the development of the Rattler? Possibly, and most probably, yes. That's all I can say on it. Is it fake? It depends what you mean. But no, not really. Because if it is just a developmental focus group slideshow sort of thing, then it's not fake. It's just part of the development process. Does that make sense? Is it what we're going to see next week? No. We're not going to see a vintage Rattler. We're not going to see blast effects from a different, you know, example. We're not going to see a cockpit control that isn't from the cockpit. We're not going to see a stand that clearly is not being shown with a Rattler, and we're not going to see those armaments. But, you know, we're probably not going to see, we're probably going to see something very similar or close to C, possibly. But is it going to be exactly the same? I don't know. If when Thursday rolls around and that image and it gets posted and we're all going absolutely nuts, I don't think anyone's even going to remember this part. But because it's all going to be like, oh, well, let's go for it. This is exciting. And boom, jump on and FOMO and everything. So it's all going to be absolutely bonkers, crackers, insanity pants. But like I said, we're probably even going to forget this existed, genuinely. Although I've said it so much now that we're all going to be like, hey, Chris. I'm not going to say that because I'm Chris. I'll be like, let's talk about how close it was to one of these. Someone might do it. Someone might remember and go, let's have a look and see which one it looks the most like. But it probably isn't going to happen, is it? We're all probably going to forget. We're going to get caught up in the furore. And then 6 months later, it'll be like, I've just realized that this looks exactly. So to summarize quickly, what we're seeing here from Reddit is almost certainly developmental materials used in things like possibly, pitch decks or focus groups, what have you. A number of people have stated that this is where it's from. It's from focus groups. A number of people that were at particular focus groups have corroborated this. But at the same time, there you go. Kev Jewel, did you not hear a single word I said, or have you genuinely just come in? Are you doing this on purpose? I'm not saying it again. You just have to watch it again from the beginning. Right. That's the Haslab bit talked about. Mark says, just pretend these pics are the HIYA Rattler that we will never see, like all the figs actually announced. Yes, exactly. It's a HIYA Rattler. Sorry, Kev. Just quickly, possibly developmental focus group images in the process of developing a project is what we're assuming at this case. So possibly for pitch, possibly for focus groups. Some people have stated they've seen these in focus groups in Reddit. So that's what we're going with at the moment. But we're probably not going to be seeing this as it is next week. We're going to be seeing something obviously much more polished, and honestly, none of those images they're just literally concept. Anyway, thank you, Ryan. TLDR, concept art, not final product. Thank you. Why didn't I just say that? I should have just said that. Anyway, sorry, Kev. It was funny because I think I'd said it 3 times when your comment came up, and I genuinely thought you were trolling, but it's totally cool. Right, C does look the best Dragon Reborn. I agree. Now, next up, we have this. Now, this was leaked on Weibo, the Chinese, I think it is Chinese website outlet, and we often see these things pop up. It's like an eBay kind of thing, isn't it? I believe. I've always heard it, always referred to it when talking about certain leaks, and I mean like way beyond, but back in the day, not just for classified, but like way back. Have I ever bothered to figure out what it was? No, never. I know that's really bad, but it's always been one of those things where I've never thought to do that, and it's just because it never pops up in my head. But it is a Chinese website basically. Now, what's interesting about this is, like I said, they have precedent here. We often get these kind of secondaries, parts, pieces, prototype, etc., pop up. And also, thank you, Darren, for that. Yeah, correct, Chinese. Thank you, mate. But yeah, it looks likely here. Oh, it's a social media site. Thank you. There you go. That's all I need to know now. And will I forget that in the future? Damn right I will. So on the Weibo social media site from China, that's all the information now sorted. We have got these secondary parts: belts, what they call goggles, and vests, which look very like we are dealing here with some sort of retro Viper. Thank you, Darren. You will remind me every time I mess it up. But so it does look like we're looking at retro Viper parts here. Like I said, it's a source, Weibo, of leaked kind of like prototype, first shot, pre-production pieces that we've seen for years and years and years. And not even like pre-production, but just like early shots of box figures, complete production pieces, and then little bits and pieces that just pop up here, there, and everywhere. So, like I said, there's precedent here. And this genuinely looks like a retro Viper of some description. Now, what would make sense for a Viper with a more vintage look? The retro cardback series. That's what would make the most sense, I think, here. Mercer's a good shout, just under Anderson, but there's goggles there too. He doesn't have goggles. Not saying that's a deal breaker, but and also it can just be reused for Mercer. So yeah, I think we can assume here that there's an element of doing a retro Viper, and yes, that secondary 100% could be redone for Mercer in the future. Now, the other thing with Mercer, which is quite interesting, is they designed him in such a way that didn't completely copy the Viper. So maybe there's certain elements that could be retooled for a Mercer. Maybe they do something different. They're very likely would be another piece done for Mercer, because that's what they like doing. They like doing brand new pieces all the time, like even if they don't need to necessarily. So are we getting a retro Viper? It's possible, RKW. It's very, very possible. Wiley Pete on his tank confirmed that we are getting a retro Viper next year, and he's almost always correct. Cool. Nice one, Jeffrey. So it is, yeah, I mean, it's a possibility at this stage, isn't it, is what we're saying. All arrows are all roads are pointing. No, hang on. It's looking likely. A lot of people saying short sleeves, hopefully, bare arms. They might do. They might just leave the gauntlets off, right? would that work? Might just leave the gauntlets off, because I think that would work, honestly. Yeah, yeah. So there you go. So it's yeah, looking likely. A lot of people. Someone said chrome mask as well, which would be a great idea, actually, wouldn't it? Like in the like a vac metal. Yeah, there it is, Detective Dirty. A vac metal kind of like mask would be great, just like Cobra Commander. And again, it would be a really great way of re-release or redoing the Viper in order to get something very, what's the word? Very vintage inspired, but different enough that it makes you want to buy it. Because I'm looking up there on my display of Cobra over there, and there are like a ton of Vipers in the corner, all different. Python, Viper Officer, Viper Officer 3-pack deco, Cobra Island Viper deco, and multiples of each. So it's like cool, but it's got to be different. And I think, yeah, a retro Viper with vac metal mask, with all these new parts. Here's the kind of mock-up on another figure, on a Viper, but with a different random head going on. The goggles look bigger, chunkier, and probably, hopefully, better, because some of the Viper goggles are a little bit stretchy and dodgy, aren't they? A bit tight. The secondary looks really nice. Again, it does have that retro vibe, especially with the grenades on it. And looking at the two side by side, which I should have had a comparison image. I always forget that. Probably do that for the weekly though. We'll get like a nice comparison for that. I'll forget again. And there is a marked difference between the two. So I think, I think we're in there for a Viper. In all honesty, Bobby's saying it looks a little bit like Cross Country, a little bit, but I mean, I'm pretty sure we're dealing with Viper parts here. And again, if I'm wrong, come in the comments, Bobby, and tell me all about it. But it's a good shout. There isn't. I think the face that they've used for the mock-up of this figure definitely does force its way into thinking that it has more of a cross-country vibe. But yeah, I do believe this is I mean, it's so close to a vintage Viper design, it's not even funny. Anyway, but expect the retro Vipers not to have their OG weapons a la Snow Serpents, hee. Possibly, or it might be one of those things where they might think, okay, we learn our lesson with that one. And they may hold fire on certain things to make sure they get the right tooling done for those particular things, because I still think that for me is right. So like Falcon would be that first Falcon is probably like the lowest quality figure in the line. Snow Serpent is the biggest missed opportunity in the line. The retro Snow Serpent, the missed opportunity being not getting those retro pieces to make him a retro figure, to separate him from the first Snow Serpent, which is a really cool, awesome upgrade to make kind of like a Snow Serpent officer sort of vibe. But yeah, I think missed opportunity not to give that Snow Serpent those things. Everything else has been like ever so like very minor details that often haven't been an issue for myself personally. I can't think of anything else. I'm sure you'll be able to remind me of things that you guys don't like in the comments though. Anyway, I use sign me up for 4 retro Vipers in 2025, says Joe. Okay, I have a form. I could send you a form to fill out. Ryan, I use a couple of those Viper goggles on Cobra Infantry to differentiate them. That's a good shout, actually. That is a good shout. Needs to have rolled up sleeves though. Yeah, you're not the only one saying that, gentlemen. A lot of people have been saying that in terms of a retro version of the Viper. I don't think that will have fallen on deaf ears. I'm doing some absolute classic errors in well-known terms, aren't I, at the moment? They can use Recondo's shoulders elbows or shell bows. Could they? Would that work? What do you guys think? It's 100% the exact 86 Viper secondary. Cross country had totally different vest shoulder bits. Yeah, that's true, actually. There is an element there, yeah. And he didn't have grenades yet. I repainted the Cobra Officer AK-47 to go with Snow Serpent, and it works well. Good idea, Leon. Skybound Mercer is huge. Maybe reuse Road Pig Buck. Yeah, that's true. Unless they go for their own sort of vibe. But I think you're going to make them big anyway. If anything, they've got to match Sarge. I think Mercer, Taurus, and Red Dog, if they do all three, which I think they kind of should, like that would be like those three are like the next Dreadnought Three Stooges that, you know, took ages to kind of appear, didn't they? Do you know what I mean? Oh, Torch is here, by the way. There he is. There he is. I'm saying this like no one's got him. Of course, I'm sure you all have. But yeah. He's the one that's Torch is the one that talks like that. He's like that's what Torch. That's an exaggerated version of what Torch sounds like. Like you've got Baz is a bit nasally. Thresher has got that kind of like softer, smoother kind of. Well, he's a bit nasally as well, actually, when he's like Serrana. And I'm trying to think of the other ones. Ripper's like a bit kind of gravelly. And then this guy is a 60 a day. I'm guessing they gave him that voice because obviously a guy like Torch smokes a lot. Sounds like the guy from the Mighty Boosh. Oh, damn you. It's an outrage. Sorry. Yeah, Skybound Mercer is huge. I think it will be, like I said, I think it will kind of match the Sarge kind of size. What else are we saying in this? The Eels needed retro backpack. Yeah, not that much. Like, honestly, Boba Fett. Yeah, Boba Fett gaming. Yeah. Boba Fett gaming. The Eels retro backpack. I don't think, like, I get what you're saying, right? I get what you're saying. An exact replica of that backpack, please and thank you. I get you. But I felt like the Eel was like, you're good. It's fine. It's there already. It's too close to original. It doesn't need anything. But I feel you on that one. But that is where I'm happy, like in a situation like that, to go, I'm cool with that. That's not really a problem. Do you know what I mean? Like that isn't like a game changer. That's not a game changer. The deal breaker is the word I'm looking for. That's not a deal breaker. Whereas I think Snow Serpent sort of kind of could be for a lot of people. Still getting him, but you know, I'm there wishing that, you know, I didn't have to go and buy Gridiron things. Oh no, that's not true. Gridiron do amazing things, but you know what I mean. Like, didn't have to get the add-ons and so on and so forth. I don't like that this line keeps shaking me down for my lunch money, says Nictimus Prime. That's an amazing way of saying it. I need Movie Mercer with a scorpion accessory for him to spit on, says Suki. Yeah. Also, a bit topical. Oh, I never thought I'd do that. I never thought I was going to say or do anything very similar to that recently. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Leon, yes, the Recondo Televiper Falcon arms would work. Yeah, might as well get something out of Falcon, even though it's not Falcon, really. Torch has a banging Gridiron loadout like Buzzer does. Torch is pretty good for me. Like, I'm happy with Torch. Like, I'm happy with Buzzer and Ripper, but again, I do feel like they need backpacks. You know what I'm saying? Backpacks are necessary for Buzzer and Torch, so I will be delving in probably to Gridiron to hook me up with that kind of situation. Anyway, really don't want a big Mercer Outback size max, says Leon. Yeah, I think it will be. Someone get Chris a throat or lozenge. Need it. FC Viper. We have the size with Nemesis Immortal. Yes, we do, Venom, Kitty said. He's inhaled his own fumes. Yeah, that's what he's done. I've wanted an OG looking Viper since I started collecting classifieds, says Bryce H. Finding an entrance where they can. Eels. Also, Road Pig should be hulking. He'll be pretty big, Venom. Trust me. Buzzer sounds like you, Chris. He does, weirdly enough, doesn't he? I know I never did the one that you wanted me to say, but I did do a Buzzer voiceover for Skinny Joe Fan, which you can check out on the YouTubes, go on our Facebook page or Twitter page and keep scrolling until you find Dinner with Serpentor. And that is where I did a little voiceover for Skinny Joe fan, who got Brian Cummings to do Dr. Mindbender's voice on that video, by the way. It was amazing. So yeah, that was fun. I only got one line in like literally the first few minutes, like minute and a half of the video, but it was fun. Little mini pizzas. Honestly, I would have been okay with Snow Serpent if they had only done the racket snowshoes. That's a good point as well. And the funny thing is, you've got an AK in the line, so it's not like you have to do anything new. Again, I'm feeling there was a logistical issue there, but AK-47, snowshoes. Don't worry about the backpack. Don't need the backpack. Is Dusty's backpack works or whatever. That's fine. You got that. That's safe. Snowshoes, AK, which already exists, so you don't have to retool anything. So snowshoes and the little weird mortar missile. I think that those two new things would have been fine. But maybe they were working on extraordinarily tight budget. Kitty said, cheers. I had no reason to get Retro Snow Serpent, to be honest. Felt like I'm getting the same figure, but with much less accessories. I know that's what it feels like. It's just a different deco, isn't it? Which I like the deco, but I wish it had those details. I wish they'd added the 1986 Viper belt buckle details. I can't even think what that looks like off the top of my head. I don't know. Maybe they're just making it, feel somewhat its own thing. Torch is amazing as is, says Derek. Ripper needs a backpack. Buzzer needs molded glasses. Agreed, Derek. I would also add Buzzer needs a backpack in there too. I would settle for Buzzer gets a backpack, but yeah, the glasses are like Buckaroo. You look at them funny and they ping off. They're kind of like roadblock / heavy duty Cobra Island roadblock shades. They fall off. I've got two versions of that figure. One has glass. I'm sure this is a variant. One has glasses where the arms aren't very long, and the other has the shades that have ever so slightly longer arms, and they fit fine. The other one, pinging off left, right, and bloody center. Yes, McMurphy. I'm not saying that, but yes, that's exact. I jokingly said that when it happened, because I tend to do puns almost as soon as they come out of the mouth. And that was one I went, General. Yeah, same thing. Torch is the clear winner of the 3 for me. Yeah, he looks great. I haven't obviously got him out yet, but he looks phenomenal. That secondary jacket is glorious. The tattoos on the forearms, I love. Just everything about this figure looks phenomenal. I'm happy that the shades are molded on, genuinely. I do not care for removable shades unless they are solid as a rock. Solid as a rock. I've heard that Major Blood from HIYA was coming soon. I mean, they all are, really, technically. Have you seen RP? If so, blink twice. If he has a belly and... Oh, Road Pig. No, I haven't seen Nictimus Prime. No, I'm just under the assumption that there's been information that suggests it's... Well, actually, no, I'm pretty sure it's been said that it's a new buck. It's a new body. He's a big old hosser. I'm pretty sure it's something in the region of broader but the same height as Roadblock, I believe. Something like that. I gave Buzzer the Sarge's glasses. That makes sense. Buzzer and Ripper's weapons are energon powered now. That's true, yeah. Gridiron makes badass glasses for Buzzer. Awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to dip into Gridiron at some point. My only gripe about Torch is the blowtorch is very gummy. Interesting. I mean, isn't everything gummy in the weapons? I know they're trying to change that a little bit now, but like having been catching up a lot on a lot of classified figures, and also thanks to a lot of people who've been sending me some stuff. That's been very kind of you. Shout out to Paul Pamphilone. Shout out to some others that will remain nameless. But no, thank you very much. I appreciate all of that. It's very kind of you, and you've helped me catch up. And obviously, I've been picking up a few here, there, and everywhere where I can as well myself. But thank you very much to everyone that's kind of hooked up and helped me in my time of need. my time of need being just picking up some classified figures, it's very much appreciated. And yes, so thank you. And also, I've noticed you're obviously kind of catching up a little bit, still getting gummy weapons, still getting a little barrel that's bent a little to the left or whatever. Obviously, going forward, I'm expecting that to be kind of ironed out. But if it's still happening in Torch, then, you know, it's probably still going to happen in, I don't know, who's coming next? Raptor, Nemesis Immortal, Cobra Commander Once a Man, etc., etc. What we're saying? 6 new figures releasing on Pulse UK any end of month. Can't wait. Cool. Chris, to me, the backpacks aren't very good, especially when the hole in the back of the figure is either too small or too big, in my opinion. I agree. I think the backpacks have been a bane of my existence for a long time. What was the one recent one I had issues with? There's one I had issues with very recently that I picked up. When I put the backpack in, who was it? Which one of you was it? I've probably hidden. Oh, it was Shockwave. So Shockwave and the Night Pursuit. I put the backpack in because it's Firefly's backpack, and also the secondary was slightly misaligned, and I didn't realize that until I looked with a light between to kind of line it up again. You know, I was putting it in there, like finally went in there, popped in, oh good, but then it's not, you know, it's one of those ones where it's not like solidly in there, and that really bugs me when it's like just in there, and it's like you could probably shake it out. I'm not a fan of that, and that seems to be the case for a lot of the backpacks, and I don't know why that hasn't been dealt with. You know what I mean? Like that surely to me is something that you could definitely go, right, this is definitely something we need to work on. What can we do to make sure that peg and that hole are tight as a doiga? They definitely lengthened the peg for a while. Like so after a while in the line, the length of the peg definitely got bigger. But I feel like the connectivity is the problem a lot of the time. If the peg is shorter than it was before, but the connectivity is tight, it doesn't matter. But the fact that it's going through, you know, a secondary and then into the figure itself, you really have to ensure that backpack works. And what's the best way to do that? Straps, baby. Just have the peg be a stability factor and then give the backpack straps. Look at, you know, Ripcord, for example. How glorious does that backpack look like? I mean, it's going to be a parachute, isn't it? But at the same time, very cool. Cheers. Oh, what are we saying? I've missed a lot of comments. I'm sorry. Speaking of Major Blood, do you think he's going to be revealed soon, or should I chase the older Cobra Island release? I don't know about Major Blood Venom. I haven't heard hide nor hair of a new Major Blood in the near future. So that's I would definitely try and get hold of that Cobra Island one because it's freaking awesome anyway. The only downside for that one is that the rockets don't fit in the backpack for me. I'm not sure if that's the same problem for everybody, but they are not very secure in that backpack, and that can be a bit frustrating when you're moving him around, you know, and getting him posed up and everything, and then the rocket just falls out and you're like, oh god, how am I going to get that back in without destroying every figure that I've propped up? Gentleman says, the speculation time. I've got to imagine a retro Techno Viper, Televiper, Mindbender, Cobra Officer, Spirit, Flash, Grand Slam, Rock and Roll are coming, right? I mean, some of them have got to be, haven't they? A Televiper makes sense because obviously we've only had a Televiper with Trouble Bubble so far. Mindbender makes sense based on the fact that Mindbender was a little difficult to get hold of, and a deluxe and a convention exclusive. Cobra Officer, I don't know the Cobra Officer. Is it worth doing an officer? I feel like they're not difficult to get, and there's not really much wrong with them. You know what I mean? Like wrong with, you know what I mean? There's not really much that needs to be update or downgrade, not downdated, not downgraded, but downdated. That makes sense. Retro actively designed. Yes. So officer, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that one if it's necessary. Spirit, we've got 2 spirits now, one of which is a Marauders, one of which is, you know, a single carded with animal, and I don't think is crazy hard to get hold of. So I don't know about Spirit. Flash, Grand Slam, I mean, you'd think they'd be on the cards at some point because they're OGs. Rock and roll 100% has to be coming. I would be very surprised if we don't get a rock and roll retro figure. Very surprised. But yeah, I think that's a good one. That would just be like, you know, the one we have, but different deco and some other little aspects changed. Accessories, maybe. No tattoos. I don't know. Whatever you could do really to make that one a retro one. I'm getting more non-gummy than gummy these days. Most are slightly soft, flexible, but not to the state of being gummy, though some still are. Yeah, it's similar vibes. And Roadblock for sure. Yeah, I think, gentlemen, I think Roadblock is could be one for that. The problem is, right, this is what I'll say to all of these really good options. You could probably have an argument for a retro figure in most of the releases that have come out that haven't had a retro version, right? You've probably got an argument for all of the figures that exist in the line, right? With the exception of Falcon, maybe the first Falcon, but the new Falcon, 100%. So with that, there are only I think we've got listings next year for 9 retro figures. So you're looking at having to be quite particular with what you go with, and also balance it out with logistics and balance it out with other things. You know, Viper seems to be one that could possibly happen here. That's a very high possibility. And I think a lot of those other aspects, like the characters you mentioned, I think are all really good shouts, honestly, for that. But then I think there's probably other characters in there that haven't been mentioned. I would suggest like a cover girl would make a good retro figure, you know, with maybe blonde hair, or maybe just you know, like kind of doing something slightly different with cover girl in order to get the most out of that tooling, but also give us something different and interesting and within canon, if you get what I'm saying, right? So I think that would be a good one. I think, goodness me, there's so many. I think just based on the backpacks alone, Buzzer and Ripper could be good options for retro releases. I think friggin' like I know we've had like a bunch already. No, I'm not going to say it. I was going to say Tripwire, but like no, we have 2 versions of Tripwire, and we have the ability to make any version we want. There's no need for a retro Tripwire necessarily. But how much fun would I don't know, like a Fun School Tripwire on retro card be, or a Listen and Fun, or well, not necessarily Blades, because I want the Fang as well, but you guess what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. There's arguments for all these kind of things, I think, personally. Charles says, do you think it's possible that HIYA stuff is being held back to wait for the Asia market exclusive? Like maybe they release the first 2 to meet something and we'll see the rest in 2025? I really hope so, Charles. Not a clue, really. I don't know the ins and outs and the details and all that kind of stuff, but something is not quite sinking. And either I don't have all the information and it's out there, or nobody has the information because it's being held captive. Norgahide with the Shadow Tracker backpack was awful. I do have Norgahide as well. He's here. He's up there with Yobbo and Pork Belly. Yeah. But a pork by oboe. And I have heard that the backpack doesn't really work with Norgahide very well. But we'll see how that goes, Liquid. Sorry that it didn't work for yourself. Derek said I had to glue the backpack on my 60th diver on. The peg was too big and getting stress marks on it. Oh, that sucks. I'm sure there will be a retro Major Blood next year. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. They aren't doing shroom pegs for the backpacks, unfortunately. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I sort of wish they had slightly different peg designs. But at this point, it's difficult to change that, isn't it? Because every tooled figure has like a blooming, you know, that hole. A lot of people seem to be having the same issue with Norgahide in the backpack. I'm going to see if I have the same issue. There's a good workaround for backpacks that are too loose, and that is to give it a little bit of paint, or what's the other one? Glue. Let it harden so it's kind of obviously a bit thicker. There's a few different things. Varnish. There's all sorts of things you can kind of put on the peg that then give it another layer of thickness. and then hardens over time, so you can then insert it. So there's lots of different options for loose, but it's when it's maybe, I like it when it's a bit too tight. Kitty said that obviously is what you want at the end of the day, because you want it to have a bit of longevity, and that's the problem with some of those. If the retro Cobra Trooper is an indication, then the retro Viper will likely be a repaint. Yeah, the reel's in, but also don't forget there are elements where they do that thing where they're like, we listened to you and we heard the issues with this and we heard the issues with that. People had issues with some of the retro releases, didn't they? And I kind of feel like because of those maybe particular kind of responses from the fans, they are quite reactive, the Joe team, positively, like as in, if an issue is widespread and it seems to be like a problem for a lot of people, or seems to be an issue for a lot of people that wasn't necessarily thought of at the time, they do tend to try and, do things to change that. And you could argue, well, it should have been from the start, but, no one's perfect. And I would say that the line has been successful enough to prove that even though it hasn't been to the millimeter like detail perfection, has still been a very successful and enjoyable, like, I'm obsessed with it, obviously surrounded by them, but there's a real swell of, Kitty said, of reaction, of excitement, of like physical loud responses to this line, whatever the figure is revealed, whatever's kind of shown and what have you, and that indicates that they're doing something right. Yes, there's always going to be things that can be improved, always going to be things that could be like a little bit better. I don't think this isn't one of those industries where it can just be like that, especially when you've got multiple things that are affected by any one change. One of those changes being like a change to a peg size, or a neck ball, which effectively I think from the day one should have been uniform. But things happen in engineering, and changes and things happen out of people's control sometimes, and that clearly is what's happened in some of these cases. But that said, yeah, there are never like it's never going to be 1,000,000% perfect. It just can't be. Although perfect would insinuate perfect. It doesn't. There's no percentage of perfect. Is the perfect is perfect. I'm just being I'm just doing that exaggeration thing. If the retro Viper vest could also be used for a new Cobra explosives trooper, like they did in the 25th. Yeah, that's true actually. There's a good shout actually. There's a couple of things in the 25th that could be good ideas for the future. They did those like desert and Arctic sets as well, didn't they? And they utilized Vipers in all sorts of different decos as well. So you could create this particular Viper, right, for a retro, and then get a Sonic Fighter out of it. That would be dope. I'd love a Sonic Fighter deco in like a new Viper going forward. If this was a regular or a Sonic Fighter. In actual fact, I'm more inclined to hope this is a Sonic Fighters retro. Could you imagine that? That would be so good. So good. Anyway, re-argument for existing figures seeking retro releases. I don't think Shipwreck, Lowlight, Bazooka, Outback will see retro treatment anytime lately. Probably not, no. Not necessary either, I don't think. Shipwreck is effectively pretty Shipwreck. Lowlight is, you're not getting much closer to that really either. Bazooka's like vintage as heck. Mutt's fine. Outback's fine. Yeah, I don't think they need them necessarily. You're right. So in terms of finding examples for, finding reasons for all of them, you're possibly right on that one. I think I will say Shipwreck could probably get a more vintage deco, right? Lowlight could get a vintage loadout, would be cheaper for a start, but Lowlight is definitely more Pursuit of Cobra than he is his original figure. Not saying it's necessary though, and I think you're right on that. Bazooka is almost, there's no need. What's the point? None at all. You're totally right on that. Mutton Junkyard, I don't see that being done either, based on the fact that they are so perfect. And it's a figure animal, so it's your figure pet, so it's slightly different on that one. You're right. And Outback, you're right. I think Outback doesn't need he doesn't need any more versions out. I mean, he does. He needs a Night Force version, but I think that, I think that'll happen eventually, sooner rather than later. Retro Falcon needs to happen. Retro Jinx, I think I love Jinx. She's up here, by the way. you catching the theme tonight of me catching up with Classified. So Jinx, I think, looks phenomenal, and I had a reaction to this figure in a positive one. I think she's beautiful. I think it's an amazing figure. I love the tattoo. I love the update sort of Classified vibe. So I think in her situation, I think a retro figure would be wicked, because again, opportunity there to do your classic Jinx. And I think that would make sense. Retro card cutter with Killer Whale. Amazing, Ryan. On Cobra side, Scrap Iron, Crocmaster are unlikely. Well, yes, you're right again on that one. Yeah, totally. Not many though, but Scrap Iron, you're right. I don't see them. I mean, he's already there, but again, should I preface this with single carded figures? Because again, it's like when they're figure animal companion things, figure vehicle, figure, that's slightly different, unless it's one of those ones where it's like it's the pre-paint for a retro figure as like a that kind of thing. But like, I don't know, Clutch wouldn't need the retro treatment, would he? Because he's a figure that comes with the vehicle. I should have been more specific, but they're good examples of who not to do for retro. 100%. Retro Firefly, I don't know. I think we've got enough Fireflies, honestly, now. Although I need another Firefly, because the Firefly I have is missing deco on a quarter of its torso. Didn't HIYA Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow come out in 2023? I think so. Yeah, I think they did, Ryan. Why? What was the point on that? Of you having a conversation with someone else? Jinx needs a whole new torso. The torso articulation is embarrassing for a female ninja without any armor. I don't know. I know she looks great. Maybe articulation-wise for posing, but again, I can't see that being an issue either. She seems to have. Do you mean because she doesn't have there's no butterfly joints and stuff like that? I don't know. She looks pretty cool to me. I don't know. I'm not fussed with Jinx. I don't need Jinx to be any different, honestly. My top 5 figures that need retro are Major Blood, Serpentor, Dr. Mindbender, Flint, and Breaker. Good shouts. Python Blood and Crocmaster. With Python Croc would be amazing, Chris. Yeah. I wish the backpacks had straps instead of pegs. Same, or both. Keep the pegs, but just they don't rely on them to do all the work. Give them the straps. Someone on Discord suggested a retro Range Viper. That would be cool. Blue Tack is another one, Chris. Yeah, for keeping the backpacks on. Absolutely. Retro Serpentor is a good shout. Boba Fett. Yeah. Boba Fett. Get it? Yeah. Cheers. Boba Fett. Retro Serpentor makes sense. Another figure that, is difficult to get. Not everyone got him. I don't know how you'd even I don't know what you'd do with it though. Maybe just I don't know. It's not like the chariot would be coming with him. So maybe you just do the figure. Sticky Tack is a good shout as well, Jedi Ben. Yes. Quake Hold Museum Putty is great, says McMurphy. Lots of good options here to keep backpacks on. When will we get a separate line called the cartoon line with cartoon specific paint jobs so they can triple pick our wallets? I'll tell you now, if they did VHS tape animation, special decos or figures, I would cry. It would be so cool. Just, it doesn't have to be crazy pants. It doesn't have to be loads of new figures. Give me a Chuckles in white shirt. Maybe the new figure could be Big Lob. Give me a retro Jinx and give me a retro Falcon in VHS animated movie packaging. How awesome would that be? Throw the charge. Throw the Sarge in as well, just for good measure, as a reissue, but on a different card back. I don't know. Give them some fun, like, accessories. Make it, you know, really fun and cool. How am I still not feeling any pain in this, by the way? They literally cut a huge hole in my body and I'm not feeling any pain yet. Weird. Anyway, I'm going to regret that at 3 in the morning. I'm going to wake up in like sweating going, this is so painful. The wreckage set is eluding me, says Stygian. Yeah, keep looking. You'll find it. Retro Mindslaughter. You read that right. That's pretty cool, Viper. I like that. Dr. Mindslaughter. That sounds amazing. Retro Kangor. Perfect. Perfect. This is the kind of thing I want to see them apply themselves to when it comes to retro. Quirky stuff. That, and you could get a classified kangaroo on a card back, right? It'd be so good. Anyway, sorry, I just realized I've missed so many comments. My bad. I'm not going to be able to get to everyone. I'm sorry, guys. We're going to have to call it soon, but I'm going to quickly finish this episode. So let's keep moving. Take Tylenol before pain appears and it will work 100 times better. Thank you, Chris G. I probably will do that at some point. Anyone mention retro dreadnoughts with backpacks, says Michael? Yes, I did earlier, like when I was talking about figures that could do with some retro upgrades. Right, so leaked listings 2024, nothing's changed apart from, you know, Quarrel not being Heart-Wrencher, which is great, by the way, I will add. I was so confused by that particular bit of information that we had. Like I said, I think I've discussed this on the show before. We had multiple sources. I'm just scratching my back with a thing that I found that's long enough to scratch my back with. There you go. Yeah, the information we had from multiple sources was said that it was going to be Night Force Falcon and Heart-Wrencher. And I was so like, oh, I'm not sure why they're doing that. It doesn't make any sense. And it honestly didn't turn out to be true. So that's great. But it was a 2-pack. It was Walmart. It was Night Force Falcon. So we were almost there. But we got Quarrel instead. And Quarrel is phenomenal. And also, yeah, we know that Road Pig is coming with a Pitbull at this point. Still don't know who Whip Snakes is. And that is really upsetting me. Retro card, the guy who was the hypnotist. Crystal Ball, just under Anderson, would be incredible. I'll take a crystal ball right now, please and thank you. Do I plan to go live again prior to Thursday, aside from any news bursts? Yes, I do, Justin. I plan to go live with, I'll just move this over to 2025. Let's talk classified Footloose. Why can't I see Footloose? There he is. Let's talk classified Footloose based on his name only reveal, which is there, is on that leaked listings page on the left there at the bottom of the yellow of the second group of 4 retail wave figures. So I'll be doing that one hopefully soon. I was hoping to do it tonight, but obviously the day got away from me and I had the Brian Hickey interview and this to do. So I've got a feeling there's going to be a lot of information coming out before Thursday as well. So it's going to be ridiculous, as it always is around this time. Do you remember, I think it was last year, I was doing 2 to 3 episodes a day for like 2 months. It was like 2 months. Then we had a week where it just chilled out a bit and only did like 4 episodes that week. And then it was back to doing like 2 a day. Do you guys remember that? It was insanity pants. Anyway, yes, Viper, Scout, Heart-Wrencher with Dreadnought Ground Assault is now possible. And that's where my relief went, basically, for an appropriate release for Heart-Wrencher. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much everything, I'm pretty sure, there on 2025. Name only reveals are these: Starduster, Footloose, Leatherneck, and Blowtorch for the Joes, and Road Pig, Frag Viper, Raptor, and Xandar for Cobra. It's very likely we might see Starduster render, Leatherneck, and Xandar to kind of complete that first 4-figure wave, retail wave of reveals. So I could see them doing that. I could see them doing Leatherneck and Xandar. as render reveals on Thursday morning or during the panel. I could see Starduster being revealed for PulseCon. I could see who else? Rogue Pig, obviously. I feel like Rogue Pig is probably coming as a figure pre-order based on the news that broke, last week regarding that. I think, it's very likely we'll see Rogue Pig and his animal companion and probably Raptor as pre-orders over us. I love that line from Xandar. That is all. I actually put that. I love that line so much. I put it on a T-shirt with Xandar's face on it, with a little thing under a little what do you call it? Quote underneath that said, "You know us," in the deepest voice possible as well. It's like when he speaks in that movie. It's the same sound that Jango Fett's like space kind of like, what's that mine, proximity mine or whatever they call it, that mine that goes off in space, that it's like a black hole, sort of like it kind of sucks all the energy in and it goes like silence and then goes wow. That's basically what Xandar's voice sounds like when he says "you know us" in that. Anyway, what is it called, guys? Tell me in the comments. I've completely forgotten what Jango Fett's blooming mines were called. They've got a name, like a something charge. Well, I can't remember what it was called. Something charge, right? It's the one that kind of does that really cool. There's like, it's memes and all sorts about it. It's the coolest noise ever. The hell is it called? That noise, like that kind of silence, and then that crazy cool metallic kind of like deep sonic charge. Was it a sonic charge? RKW. That does sound right. Anyway, that's what it kind of reminds me of. Seismic. Thank you, Traz. Thank you, Darren. Seismic charge. That was driving me mad. Obviously, some information about like HIYA Toys pushed out the word seismic out of my brain. That's what happened. Thank you, everyone who's saying seismic charges. Now, Jamie Lynn, Boba Fett Gaming, obviously you knew what that was. If you didn't say Boba Fett, I would have been upset. Anyway, that's all we know for name only reveals and what I'm expecting Thursday and over the weekend and everything. Now, we also have digital renders for Daltone and Saw Viper, so it's highly possible we could see, I don't know, maybe figures on the show floor of these two for SDCC. I'm so excited. I can't even. It hasn't really dawned on me until today. It hasn't really kind of like sunk in the excitement aspect, and yeah, I'm really buzzing now, and it's going to be hectic. It's going to be seismic, guys. It's going to be seismic. Anyway, I will leave you to enjoy the rest of your evenings without me. Thank you for another extraordinarily long-winded News Bursts live special. Sorry, guys. They do go on for a while, but I kind of enjoy the interactivity aspect of these, and I enjoy the discussion aspect and all that kind of stuff. So my apologies for those of you that are looking for kind of short, sweet bits of information. Unfortunately, you're not going to get it here. At some stage, when life sort of balances out, I intend to do way more short form videos. Okay. And that doesn't mean not doing as many lives, but it means doing more short form videos. So for those people that are just, we're all still here, ain't we? I read that almost in the boys' butcher voice there, Nictimus Prime. We're all still here, ain't we? Anyway, I appreciate that. But yeah, my plan for the future, it might be one of those things where it's like new for 2025, but it might have to happen before that. I want to do more short form videos that are kind of more like short to the point, news only, segmenty kind of bits and bobs that can then go out on socials as well. So it won't just be like a YouTube news. I mean, it will be a short YouTube news burst video, but it will also be, on like your reels and your stories and your on TikTok and stuff like that. So that's the idea, right? Obviously that takes way more bandwidth, which I just don't quite have at the moment, but I feel like it will improve. And when I get to that point where it can level out 100%, I will be doing so much more. And doing it so that everyone is kind of like, able to enjoy it in different ways, aka short form videos, long form news burst lives, and long form comic burst lives, and movie news burst lives, and movie news burst shorts, and comic short, all that stuff. It's all going to be available, and we'll get there. Oi, we need UE, MM, and Frenchie so we can take out Homelander and get my wife's son. Amazing. Anyway, right, I'll finish it there so that Liquid Identity can catch up on the HIYA stuff that they missed earlier because they came in late. You two, Just Under Anderson, this week is going to be awesome, and I love spending time with you and everyone in the chat. It helps me unwind when I get home from work. Thanks. No worries. Do it bloody earlier. Sorry, RKW. I will attempt to do that as well. That is my aim. I want to pull it back an hour or so and get it done a little earlier. My fault as well on that one. Right. Stay fresh, cheese bags. I'll be back hopefully with Let's Talk Classified Footloose if I can squeeze it out in time. Probably won't. And what's the other thing? And yeah, of course, loads more news, I'm sure, coming very soon. I'll see you on the next one. Bitume indeed, Jamie Lynn Parks. I've completely forgotten the whole you son of a... Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Smile, you son of a bitume. Right. Full force after 3. I've gone early. 1, 2, 3. Full force. Laters.
That's it for this installment of the Full Force News Burst. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time, and as always, full force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on X, formerly Twitter, @TheFullForce, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/TheFullForce. We've also added a brand new Instagram, so check us out there as well, @TheFullForce Podcast, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/TheFullForce Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.